opening words today. Please join us in a spirit of meditation, reflection, or prayer as we deepen into our service and share our opening words for this morning with wisdom from the novelist, one of my favorites, Anna Quindlen. It's so much easier to write a resume than to craft a spirit. But a resume is a cold comfort on a winter night, or when you're sad or broke or lonely, or when you've gotten back the test results and they're not so good. Here's my resume. I'm a good mother to 3 children. I no longer consider myself the center of the universe. I show up, I listen, I try to laugh. I'm a good friend to my husband. I have tried to make marriage vows mean what they say. I show up, I listen, I try to laugh. I am a good friend to my friends and they to me. Without them, there would be nothing to say to you today because I would be a cardboard cutout. But I call them on the phone and I meet them for lunch. I show up, I listen, I try to laugh. We have shown up this morning. Together, we try to listen and to remember to laugh. All right, now that leads us to our chalice lighting. And as you know, some Unitarian Universalists have a practice of the empty chair. Oh my gosh, which I have an empty chair on the other side of the room. Please imagine it with your excellent imaginations. I apologize. The empty chair that's on the other side of the room here, symbolizes the people who are in our hearts, but who cannot be physically present in the room due to absence or death, or in this virtual time, a lack of technology. Today, our empty chairs, wherever they may be, is for our beloveds we have lost to mental illness, either through death or estrangement. We join Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists all over the world in lighting our chalice. We are in good company. If you have your chalice with you, I invite you to light it now. And as you do that, I will read the thoughts of Jennifer Grayson. Universal mystery, guide us away from the desire to shine light in all the corners. Teach us to embrace the night, for without the darkness, we never see all the stars.
Now you'll join Alicia in singing hymn number 1002, Comfort Me.
Comfort
my son called me once and shared that he was having a hard time. And after a while, I interrupted him and I said, you know, it's February. There was a pause, and then he said, oh. So February is not a good month for our family. When I texted my son in January to ask permission to share that anecdote, he texted back, Elizabeth, you just gave me an expletive deleted heart attack, because I was like, oh no, is it February? I have often tried to bargain with the universe, 2 Junes and no Februaries, but so far, no luck. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is a type of depression that's related to changes in seasons. SAD begins and ends at about the same times every year. And if you're like most people, fall and early winter is when it begins. It saps your energy and makes you feel moody. Less often, SAD causes depression in the spring or early summer. My dad always went down hard in the spring. He and the poet Edna St. Vincent Millay had a lot in common. She wrote a poem once titled Spring. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with the redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spikes of crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent there is no death, but what does that signify? Not only underground are the brains of men eaten by maggots. Life itself is nothing, an empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly down this hill, April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. Yeah, take that, April. But let's get back to February, which is its own kind of difficult. It's a short month that lasts forever. February is a square equals triangle month. My boss asked me to retype a letter which only confirms that I am an utterly worthless human being, taking up space, using resources, and contributing nothing. Or the grocery clerk is abrupt with me, and just as I suspected, life has no meaning. For my family, February is a hard, bleak month. And maybe you have your own April or February. Maybe you have your own seasonal affective disorder sometime during the year. You may experience it as mild, okay, that's enough of winter now, and get moody. Or you may experience it as almost impossible to get out of bed, full-on depression. And maybe your depression isn't seasonal at all. I asked friends and family members with SAD or depression about their coping strategies. And I'm not giving attribution to protect privacy, but I was so taken with their responses that I wanted to share their wisdom with you this morning. The first thing is you don't have to take yourself seriously. That is what my son was remembering with all those O's. There are painful feelings. You do not need to act on them. In fact, don't make any decisions at all during your February. This is not a time to make life choices. You are an unreliable narrator in these times. Your understanding of reality is drowning in nasty chemicals. Also, these feelings are just feelings. They are not divinations from the oracle. They do not portend or define. They are just unpleasant feelings. You do not have to ascribe meaning to them. Just let them roll on through. If you burn your finger on the stove, you do not construct a worldview around that. You just grit your teeth and do what you can to alleviate the pain until it passes. And that is all you need to do for February as well. Grit your teeth and remember that this too shall pass. One person recommends taking your hard feelings outside of yourself. They're not recommending splitting your personality or hallucinating, but just taking your emotion, say anxiety, and sitting it on a chair so you can have a good look at it. So anxiety, here you are. And what is it you want? Is that the worst you can do? One person shared a technique his therapist recommends. When that nasty voice in your head starts in on you, you tell it to shut the bleep up. My friend says that this has been shockingly effective. He never realized you could tell your inner critic to pipe down. He has taken his power in silencing that critic. Another person was surprised to learn that you can actually just tell people you're having a low self-esteem day and ask them for compliments or positive feedback. People are generally happy to do so, especially if they get compliments in return. I talk often about busyness being a drug of choice. You can keep ahead of your demons if you stay busy enough. I think a lot of Unitarian Universalists do this. I knew a woman with terrible pain in her background who attended about 3 justice events a day. She kept super busy saving the world to keep her thoughts at bay. And while you don't want to hide from your feelings all the time, this isn't the worst way to cope. One response read like this: "What I'm doing right now to run away from the sadness and isolation is spending all my time working on projects. If there was ever a time to build a cat scratching post and raise garden beds and organize your closets and do home workouts, this is it." They go on to say, "I've been keeping a list when I see those little unfinished things and think I should fix that at some point, and actually doing them and treasuring the sweet, sweet dopamine." Another person reported, "My first therapist also asked what I liked about myself in one of my first sessions, and I uncontrollably sobbed for about 20 minutes and then managed to come up with, 'I'm a loyal friend.' But that kind of shook me loose of thinking all the time about everything wrong with me, and instead got me looking for those things I did like so I could tell her. So I guess the advice from that is to notice your strengths and successes and give yourself credit for them." They went on, "I think the building point for me was realizing a lot of people I love and respect and trust saw something in me that made them love me back. And hey, I guess if my friends are smart and like me, then something must be okay, and I should try to see what they see." Other people shared that they have been blue for so long, they have learned to just be friends with their sadness. It's just a part of them. They don't rail against it or despair anymore, that such a weight is a part of their life. They just accept it. Oh, here you are again. Okay. Winston Churchill called depression his black dog, and I don't know what his relationship to the dog was like, but I suspect over time he learned to just live with the animal. One person said as she gets older, the list of people missing from her life gets longer, which contributes to her seasonal blues. She says she has started to just invite them in and spend time reminiscing, and that this has been a nice time. Another person deliberately takes her dead along on certain excursions she thinks they would enjoy. Maybe we can borrow from the Day of the Dead and just spend some time with our dead and prepare their favorite foods. Catch up over a cup of tea. Almost everyone reported that spending time outside, moving, reaching out to friends, and volunteering was helpful. These can be very difficult things to do when you're feeling blue. It's hard to initiate. It seems to take so much energy. But if you're able to stir your bones, the cost-benefit ratio can be very rewarding. Someone shared that when I get started, building a tower of skulls, observable proof that one thing after another in the world around me is terrible. It has helped for me to interrupt that litany and substitute with a new one. A mantra like, "That's all true, but it's not all that is true." Intentionally searching out examples of alternate reality is useful because it offsets our built-in tendency toward confirmation bias. She continued, "I remember a string of less than rewarding relationships that left me despairing of any decent men left in the world. So I set myself a goal of identifying 10 decent men in the course of a year, not as fodder for romantic liaisons, but as proof their sort even existed. Achieving that goal seemed to right my ship somehow, and looking back, I can still affirm that several of them are good, solid people who continue to enrich my life and our world." Another person said, "Visual images are useful anchors. I retain an image in my mind's eye from 40 years ago when I walked the trash out over a paved Capitol Hill parking lot and happened upon a small crack no more than 3 inches long through which a Johnny jump up bloomed. It was tiny, but perfect. Along those same lines, I remember my husband's response after an early hailstorm that cut down every stalk in his newly thriving garden. He inspected the devastation and proclaimed, "We'll wait and see. The impulse to life is strong." He replaced 2 plants and reveled as the rest of the garden recovered and produced. I'll never forget the abundance of that year's harvest, almost as though the plants were determined to prove themselves against the challenge they had confronted. Life force is a real thing with the potential to change any reality of the moment. Another friend said, "Through the worst times with my son's mental illness, and even in these days of COVID isolation and loss, I have found it useful to set myself a role as the holder of hope. Not because I always feel so genuinely hopeful, but because it is clear that someone needs to stand into the void if the situation is ever going to improve. Whistling in the dark is a necessary function. I think it was useful for me to hold on to the image of him whole and recovered and strong, especially when he had lost touch with all of those things. It was like being a guardian of the sacred through a long and perilous journey." That sentiment is so beautiful. Maybe that's a role for this congregation and the wider community, to whistle in the dark, to hold a picture of this community being whole and recovered and strong, to hold the hope and be the guardians of the sacred on this long and perilous journey. Another person said, "It has helped me to keep in mind that whatever terrible things are true of this moment, they are not true for all time. Storms break and rage and pass into clear skies and sunny days. People grow abhorrent of the excess and evil that they see and choose to blaze a different path." Another person said, "As a planner, most challenging things I encounter revolve around not being able to see how things will turn out. In recent years, I found it a useful meditation to just take the next right step. It restores a sense of humility and keeps me from getting too tangled up in trying to game out all the options and uncontrollable variables. I think it puts me back in right relation to the universe too." This might be something to keep in mind as we try to game out all the possibilities for the future of this congregation. We just have to keep taking the next right step as best we can see it. One person said, "I look up. It helps me to get perspective on the immediate, intense reality that I feel is all important and spinning out of control. Remembering that I am stardust, part of the cosmos that moves in endless, unknown, and unknowable ways. Who knows why that is comforting, but it is." One person added, "What have I learned from depression? I've learned that pain comes in many forms, and everyone carries more than they know and more than they will ever share. I've learned that the things that help are the basic things that help almost everything. Keep moving, get outside, allow yourself to be touched physically, a lot, even if it is just by a pet. Avoid isolation. Get out of your head by tuning into the physical, your body, sensations, your breathing, sunlight on your skin, moonlight on trees, breezes moving your hair, the weight of your clothes. Just notice." So there's a lot of hard-won wisdom shared. If you suffer from seasonal depression or something more chronic, I hope there is something in there for you to use. I think, however, the main takeaway is how easy it was for me to gather all of this wisdom. I didn't have to look far to find people who suffer with depression. They are all around us, and they may be you, and they may be somebody that you love. Whatever your experience, you most certainly are not alone in this. I hope it helps to know that. And I hope that knowing that, we can all be gentle with one another. We do not know when it is February for another person. May we hold one another carefully and tenderly.
Did I show me commitment. Then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
So we will extinguish our chalices with a benediction from the poet Alberto Rios, and then we will have one more piece of lovely music by Alicia as we sit with all we have heard and felt today. We give because somebody gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. Mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have and I gave you what I had to give. Together we made something greater from the difference. May we all give and receive with a generous spirit until we are together again.